Yo there, that's MegaMogwai here, and I got yet another Legends of Runeterra video for guys today. And today we got 2 uploads instead of 1 because we got a roadmap to discuss. I didn't think we actually were going to do this today because when it was like an hour ago before I'm recording this, essentially they tweeted that they were going to delay the roadmap. So I went ahead and went to the gym, you know, because I'm on a quest to defeat Grappler. And I thought that was that. But then I come back and I'm told that not only is the roadmap on the website, but they also released the actual developer video on the Japanese YouTube channel for Legends of Runeterra. So we are going to be react-anding to this shit on the video, and I may even have one of those over-the-top YouTuber react thumbnails as well. We're gonna get that out of the way, actually. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll use one of those. I don't know. We'll screenshot one of them. I'm not really good at that, but you know, I want to get on the trend because every YouTuber I see seems to do it. So yeah. Without further ado, I think I'm recording right. I'm like sweating and everything. So yeah, professionalism. All right, let's go. Let's take a look at what Yip Senpai has to say. I gotta put my headphones on actually and switch up the. I think this is. I actually forgot what the. I think it's this one. Okay, good. This video's all over the place already. Okay, we are recording. Correct. Check for a second time. I don't know why. All right, let's do this. Okay, I want to play Legends of Runeterra in Japanese. Just because of the inner weep in me, I really want to do this actually.
Hi, I'm Andrew Yip, Design Director for Legends of Runeterra. I want to introduce you all to Brett Freeman, Director of Strategy, and Dave Guskin, Game Director. Today, we're going to chat about our approach to PvE moving into 2022. We'll also share some details about competitive and updates to our release and balance cadence throughout the new year.
Okay, so they're focusing the majority of this video on PvE, it seems. Like they're talking about PvE. I have this theory, okay? I've been thinking about this for a while. I think there are some signs to it that the developers are trying to find a way to make essentially make PvE like the biggest aspect of Legends of Runeterra. Unfortunately, for those who are really into competitive, including myself, I feel like it may become a side thing. But again, this is just pure speculation, and I don't know. But the fact that he let off this video by saying that they're going to be talking about PvE already raises some flags for me. So we'll see where this goes. But just wanted to point that out. That I've been thinking about this for quite some time. Actually, I've been suspecting it. So we'll see.
2022 will be a transformative year for LOR.
Okay.
We spent 2020 focused on launch. And 2021 was all about exploration, discovering what was possible with new game modes like the Path of Champions.
All right.
But now that we've laid the groundwork, we want to build on everything we've learned.
And from what we've seen, you're ready for that too. In fact, more of you are playing the Path of Champions than all other game modes combined.
Oh, really? I had no idea. I had no idea that this was actually like the data. I don't play Path of Champions. I like PvE, like I play games like Griftlands, but in Legends of Runeterra, I feel like it's always they just quite haven't managed to get it, you know, to get it right, in my opinion. I think they're progressing, but I still think that they peaked at the Labs of Legends version, even though it was more simplified. And I feel like we haven't quite gotten something like that yet, but that doesn't mean that they can't get something like that in the future. But I am surprised to hear that the vast majority, according to them, the vast majority of the player base actually, because more than the other formats combined, actually play Path of Champions instead of like just regular player versus player, which is what, you know, my channel is about, and pretty much most content creation for Runeterra is about, really. So yeah, and Twitch streaming as well. So yeah, that's kind of surprising.
And we've also seen nearly double the amount of players since the mode launched.
Okay,
we hear you loud and clear, and we're already exploring ways to improve the features you're enjoying most.
Okay.
Before Dave walks you through how we'll do that, let's take a look at some highlights since launch.
She sounds hot. she's like ara type. I love it.
名誉ある死を。
こいつは激アツだぜ。万人たちよ、闇を抱き光の
That's
ため
Senna,
に
right?
戦え。ああ、これは何と答えるべきかな。
Alan is your first ever Legends of Runeterra World Champion. Who's that?
It's awesome to see all the enthusiasm, and there's so much more to look forward to. Heading into 2022, the team is focused on bringing you even more storyful adventures and refining the single-player narrative experience with new champions.
Okay.
Then, later this year, we're going to shift our attention to new PvE features, so there are always exciting challenges waiting for you.
All right.
The Path of Champions was our first attempt in introducing this type of progression system, and since launch, we've learned a lot from your feedback. With that in mind, we're planning to remake the game mode to be even more immersive and rewarding in the next release.
That's exciting.
Instead of playing through the same campaign for all champions, we want to give each champion an experience unique to their story.
Ooh, that's ambitious, but I love
I
it.
mean more than just leveling up or getting new relics. You'll be able to chase specific items for new builds and customize how your champion legend plays through upgrades that are more intentional. For example, maybe you want to swap cards in your starter deck, or change to improve your passive powers. We're working on ways.
I'm gonna lower the volume a little bit because I feel like it may be a little bit too loud. We'll see. Because I'm not used to recording with like a video going off, and sometimes my volume is really loud, so just in case. Shit.
To give you more ownership over how your champion's story plays out. Now, an overhaul like this is going to require a progression reset, but that won't happen until the spring, so keep the feedback coming in the meantime.
Okay.
The team wants to hear from you so we can make the Path of Champions the best it can be. As our priorities shift for all this new content, some features like expeditions will churn out until we have a chance to reimagine a draft-like PvP experience.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with this. Expedition looked really promising at the beginning. I really liked their approach and the fact that they wanted to do something different with it and make it more synergistic. But it turned out that it was just kind of like building decks for you in a way, because it was really forcing archetypes together, and it just died out as a format like really early on, and yeah, I just never really got anywhere. So I never really mentioned it, but I stood by this decision for them to just like scrap it and try to remake it. I think it's definitely the right call.
But as of February 15th, we've uncapped the number of times you can get weekly rewards. So if you've got tokens left, make sure you get your last runs in before the spring update.
Okay.
Thanks again, and stay tuned for more PvE news in the coming months. Now Andrew will take you through the rest of the roadmap for 2022.
All right.
Thanks, Dave. First, let's talk content cadence. Bandle City marked our final region, so we won't have the same update schedule as we've had in the past. After A Curious Journey, we want to focus on standalone expansions that each explore something new.
Doesn't have to be always something new. It can always be like reinforcing old archetypes. That's completely fine. I don't think people would mind like an expansion with, you know, like kind of like bringing back some deep synergy and, you know, not just one thing specifically, but several different archetypes and like reinforcing them and spicing them up. I think that would be completely okay, and it would take some pressure off as well from having to design new mechanics every single time. How do you guys feel about this? I feel like that would be really neat. I know it's not as exciting as like new shit, but I feel like that would be healthier for the game. I don't know.
These won't always be the same size or even shape, and they'll add champions to both PvP and PvE.
I like that.
It's important to highlight that Runeterra is so much more than just a collection of regions. There are many champions who wander from place to place or have conflicting loyalties. Champions that could also bring unique mechanics and depth to gameplay. We're calling these Runeterra champions, and they'll break out of traditional region rules.
I want to clarify this. Like I've heard this before. Like right before I was going to the gym, like Gabby told me about like Jhin and about like something like neutral champions. That's pretty much all that I know about it though. But this is not like new to me. Like I literally heard it like an hour ago. So I know that they plan on implementing champions that. I'm not really sure how this goes though. But because implementing like neutral cards, I don't know how that's gonna work. So let's hear this out.
So how do these Runeterra champions work? Well, luckily, one of them has kindly offered to give you a peek behind.
Yes!
You've probably heard of
I love him. I love Jhin.
Jhin, the
in TFT, he was my guy. Okay, I want Japanese Jhin now. He's a 4-mana! And he's a 4/4. He has to be a 4/4.
Champion has specific deck building rules that are unique to them. As an example, putting Jhin in a deck allows you to include cards with skills from all other regions.
What?
A ton.
Whoa! That is. But what about spells? What about spells, though? Can you only add units? I have so many questions, dude.
New ways to strategize, and we can't wait for you to see how other Runeterra champs will shake up deck building.
What?
Next, a quick.
Wait, but Yasuo is what is Yasuo's skill? Okay, I'm really confused. Like I'm really intrigued, but I have a lot of questions for that.
Update on competitive in 2022.
Okay, very
Seasonal
important.
Tournaments are here to stay, and the best players on each shard will be able to compete for prizes, glory,
Seasonal.
and a chance to enter into our 2022 World Championship. However, this year we're no longer holding official broadcasts for each seasonal tournament. Instead, we're going to double down and devote all of our efforts to Worlds this year to make sure it's the best experience possible. Lastly,
Okay, so I wonder how Panda feels about this. About my co-caster. That's huge. That's huge. That has a lot of implications. I'm a caster for the seasonals. Like alongside Panda, I cast the European regional the European seasonals. Honestly, if that's gonna put more focus on the World Championships, like I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not too heartbroken about it. Like I enjoyed casting those events. I kind of feel a little bit bad for the great people that I worked with. Them not having that gig anymore. But I'm pretty sure like GG Tech is like really talented and they can do. There's so many other things that they do. So I'm pretty sure they'll be fine. But that's huge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Panda's not too happy about this though. And like one of the implications this has is that it's I had no idea this was coming actually. Let me think for a moment. Like this is actually really, it's kind of bad for like casters, like people who want to like actually break into the scene, right? Because in a way, like Europe Masters, I don't know if this affects Europe Masters, but seasonals and events like this are a way for people to try to. But then again, when it comes to seasonal, I mean, yeah, in seasonals we've shared casting, or has that been with Europe Masters? I'm not exactly sure. But if it narrows down to the World Championship, like the field, for casting is going to be more limited. But at the same time, it's just going to make them pick the ones they deem the best. And ultimately, people can't be too upset about that because, they're not. One of the things that I always say regarding esports and competitions and everything is like, I'm a believer that we're not entitled to anything. I think a company has to make the decisions that ultimately benefits them and the player base as well, but they have to, like, if something is not getting enough traction and they want to, they're keeping the seasonals alive, but if they want to make a true spectacle and focus all their attention and resources on the World Championship, I can stand behind that decision. I know not everybody's going to agree with me, but I never felt like it was an obligation of them to provide, these broadcasting opportunities. It sucks. It definitely sucks for a lot of fellow co-casters that I've had and people who have been trying to rise up through the ranks. And like I said, there's a lot of implications for this, for potential careers and everything. And it's a lot to swallow. And I may just be talking out of my ass here, but I feel like, this is not the most surprising to me. Let me just say that. So yeah, let's just continue on this.
I want to talk about our balance cadence. We just saw a massive balance patch drop with over 30 new changes, and you can expect more patches like this every other month.
Thank you.
Thanks
yes!
to input, we've brought some familiar faces and strategies like Control back into the limelight, and also adjusted some archetypes to more reasonable power levels like Azarelia, Yordles, and Kinka Wayfinder.
Well, you still got some work to do with Yordles, but I'm gonna let that one slide.
Who, as it turns out, was really just 3 Teemos in a trench coat. Beyond our updated cadence, we're always keeping an ear to the ground to solve emergent issues, even if they fall outside of a scheduled patch window. So keep that feedback coming.
Great.
The team will keep making adjustments.
That's great to hear.
And fun to play.
That's fantastic to hear.
To wrap things up.
With all the new content Andrew just talked about, we know you're wondering about rotation. So here's the official stance. It's complicated. especially for a game like ours, which relies on champions and their supporting cards.
It is.
We understand the problems that rotation can solve and are keeping a close eye on them. By the way, you might have noticed a different loading screen last time you logged in. Or maybe you used the colorblind mode released last year. Or seen how Click UI has expanded beyond labs for better accessibility. We definitely want to keep releasing these kinds of quality of life updates where we can in 2022. Finally, let's take a look at where personalization is headed this year.
Okay, so that's all I have to say about rotation. I thought that we were gonna dive more into it because he just said it's complicated. And I thought that we were gonna, but here's our idea. But no. Okay, so they haven't solved this problem. I completely understand. I've said for a long time, I've been playing card games for my entire life, right? I know how important and how much help, like how essential rotation ultimately is. Because when the card pool expands more and more, it's one of the reasons behind the issues that we have now with them introducing new content into the game and it being just completely overpowered, is because there's concern behind, like, when the developers, like, just understand that when the developers introduce new content, like, they want people to play the new cards. I've been a part of card games in the past. Like, for example, Duelist was a game that I was covering, and they released this expansion called Denizens of Shimzar. And pretty much, like, when they released that expansion, because it was too balanced, it didn't really shake anything up, and people played very little cards from it. It had very little impact, and that's always going to be worse than an expansion that's overpowered. As much as I complain about Bandle City, and as much as, because I play this game like 24/7, right? So I get burnt out when things aren't properly balanced, and you know, the community, you know, has been really tired of Bandle City as a region. And maybe I can make a video on Bandle City and the issues with it and why it's hurt the game ultimately. I think it's done more damage than good. But having that said, a lot of these things are. I feel bad, like, stopping the video. This guy's like, he's like, okay, I feel like he's staring at me. So, like I was saying, rotation can mitigate a lot of that, because the power creep can be less compelling of a decision to make for developers if cards get cycled out, because that way. It eases the card pool. It also makes it so that designing new cards, there's like less of a chance of having these crazy, because sometimes you can release a new concept and you have several, like, you know, more recent synergies in mind, but then you look into something like from the older sets and it turns out that it mixes with it so well that it's just busted, right? And that problem exacerbates, like, it becomes a bigger issue the more cards they introduce into the game. Rotation solves so many problems within card games by just keeping a set number on the number of cards in the card pool, and thus allowing them to have a more control over developing new sets. But the issue with this game is, as they said, it revolves around champions. So I think the solution is honestly to set rotation and re-release champions. Like, remake a new version of Zed, remake a new version of Fiora. It can be difficult, though, unfortunately. It can be very difficult, because how do you make a new version of Fiora that's just as flavorful as Fiora? Because a lot of champion designs are made with the champion's essence in mind, and you don't want to really alter that too much. And there's only so many different ways to make them, considering the mechanics that are in the game. So I get it. I get what he's saying when it's complicated. It's fucking complicated. But something has to be done eventually, because we will reach a point in which the card pool is just so big that there's going to be a lot of problems, right? So it's different from a game like League of Legends as a MOBA, where you have like individual champions, and you know, I mean, that problem also exists there. But with card games, the pool is so much bigger when it comes to content that it gets out of control. So yeah. It's complicated. I was hoping for something more than it's complicated, but at the same time, I can understand them not having found a solution yet. So I'll cut them some slack for that, for sure. All right, let's see what else he has to say about personalization, I think he was talking about.
We want to continue making richer, more dynamic skins that have custom animations.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I really Anime Lux! Anime Lux! I love Anime Lux. Yeah, this is great. You know, more boards,
champion spells to
more
all of the
skins.
existing epic skins in April.
Whoa.
Additionally, we'll release free Arcane Jinx and Vi skins to celebrate Lord.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
Lastly,
New
if you're
thumbnails.
enjoying the arcade battle event, keep an eye out for more events later this year, including Pulsefire in the spring.
Pulsefire.
That's all we can tell you for now. There's so much to be excited about this year, and the
Okay.
team can't wait to share more with you in the coming weeks and months.
With your feedback and support, Legends of Runeterra has grown into something that we never could have imagined 2 short years ago. It's been a journey, but the real adventure was the Lux emotes that we endured along the way.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Oh my god. I thought I was cringe. But hey, I'll take that over like robot devs any day. For sure. All right, so man, a lot to digest. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and head over to the actual roadmap webpage, and we're gonna discuss a little bit more. It's already 20 minutes of a video, but there's just a lot to talk about, and I feel like I haven't said all that I need to say, right? So let's be right back. And we're back. So here we have, I can just take these off now. Like my ears are sweating. Okay, so this is the roadmap. They said that okay, now they actually released. Okay, so the video is actually out just completely. All right, good. So yeah, now I don't feel so bad about because it reminds me of what I did, like the Turkish pike reaction. All right, so yeah, things to talk about that I want to cover. First of all, like they're focused on PvE and what they're exploring, expanding on it, and all that is great, but there's definitely going to be a lot of discourse within the community regarding their focus on competitive. I think one of the big things is the lack of coverage for seasonals, right? You know, me and Panda just lost a side job, and yeah, it also. Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure if my boy Panda like had any idea, but he would have told me. He would have told me. So yeah, this. I mean, why would he know and I wouldn't, right? I don't know. Like, yeah, definitely have to be a surprise for him as well. So that I'm gonna talk to him about this after. But like I said, essentially, if that means they're gonna focus more on, if that means that the World Championship is gonna be better and there's gonna be more research on it, I'm okay with it. Obviously, not everybody's going to be okay with it. For me, it's more of like a side job anyways. Like, I enjoy casting and I like doing it, but, you know, my main thing is content creation. But for others who are trying to make, like, the biggest problem is that it's kind of like it sets a bit of a wall, right? For you know, potential up-and-coming Legends of Runeterra casters to make a name for themselves, right? They can still do so in community tournaments and potentially rise to the scene, but because the thing about the World Championships is that there's no longer the division by regions, right? So, I mean, the thing about the World Championships is that it had a really solid, like, pretty expanded roster, like a pretty diverse roster of casters, you know, like it wasn't just myself, but you know, you had Panda, you had Swim, Skarzig, Amazonian, Casanova, you had Pastry Time and Freak, and who else am I missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody, but I'm not exactly sure. If I missed anybody, like, I'm sorry, but it was a really solid lineup, and there were quite a bit of us. Like, at least there were like 7 or 8, something like that. So I feel like if you know, somebody like, for example, like people like Casanova and Skarzig don't really produce too much content. I mean, they do produce content, but they aren't perhaps as known for that, but they made it all the way up there because of their skill set as casters. So I feel like, yeah, it can be a harder road for up-and-coming casters, but I also believe that if you are worthy and you expose yourself out there in community tournaments, you don't need the seasonal, like, you don't need to climb through the seasonal stepping stone to get to Worlds potentially, right? So, you know, I don't think it's as big of an issue in that regard. You know, it does reduce the amount of potential jobs for casters for Legends of Runeterra. And will also, like, it's also them just, like, it's a pretty big deal because it's essentially them saying, we like the seasonals, we like the way it plays out in the in-game client, but we're not happy. Like, honestly, like it tells that they're not happy with the results of like viewership and interest. I want to ask you guys, those of you who watch my videos, What did you think? Were you interested at all in the Legends of Runeterra seasonal tournaments? Because I know a lot of you just go to my channel for my content and just, for the different decks that I post or whatever it is the reason you watch my videos. But I'm not sure how many of you are actually as interested in competitive Legends of Runeterra as a whole and competitive Legends of Runeterra outside of the World Championship, right? I'm really curious. So let me know in the comments, like, this is always something I've been very curious about. Like, how important is competitive, like top tier Legends of Runeterra for you? Or do you just enjoy more, just seeing different decks showcased and playing? Because honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I enjoy competitive Legends of Runeterra, but for me, the priority in this game is to just explore the different archetypes and have fun, right? I've competed in the past, despite what people can say on Reddit, like I've been successful in competition in the past. Like I placed top 4 in like a tournament with like over 150 master players, right? In the early stages of the game. Like I've tryharded as well, but I personally just enjoy playing. If you focus completely on competition, you kind of have to just grind the same decks again and again. And I just don't enjoy playing card games like that anymore. Like I just like diversity. I like playing all sorts of different champions and mixing it up constantly. And that's how I enjoy it, right? But that's just me. And I'm curious, like, what you like the most about this game. Are you a spike? Like, do you like pure competitiveness? Are you interested in the seasonal tournaments? What is it that you like the most about Legends of Runeterra? What is the kind of content that you like to see the most? And what is it that interests you the most? Like, I'd like to know. It would help me out a lot. Like, just getting a feel for what my audience is into, because there's so many of you that I don't know. I'd like to know. So it's also important, as kind of like a bit of a survey regarding like the general interest for competitive Legends of Runeterra, right? Because it's a very interesting subject. So having that said, they're not happy with the seasonals. They're not happy with all that, and it shows because they just cut the plug on that, right? Like ultimately, that's that. But again, if that means that World Championships will be this ultimate like epic event, then I'm okay with that decision. And ultimately, it doesn't matter if I'm okay or not, because it's the decision to make and not mine. And that's where I'll end the discussion with that. But I'd like to know what you think about all this. So regarding the new format, I'm not surprised that they're mixing PvE with cards. This is not the first time that they do that. They did it with the release of Path of Champions as well. And now we have no new regions to add to the game. Part of me is really thankful for that, because I could not handle another fucking Vandal City just taking over. But I like this. I like that it doesn't restrict them to a specific set of cards, but at the same time, the vagueness that comes with this announcement means that it gives them the excuse to just like release very little cards, right? Like very small expansions, and like, hey, we didn't promise any numbers, right? It takes a weight off of them. But it does add a little bit of an element of uncertainty for us, right? How much content are we actually getting? Getting new content is important for card games. If you're not introducing as much new content, please at least give us really solid balance patches. Like, we want balance patches that shake everything up. We want a shitload of buffs, nerfs, a lot. It's a digital card game, for crying out loud. Please do this every month, and that'll make me happy. Like the ability to re-explore old archetypes and be able to, just buff champions that aren't played or cards that aren't played and nerf others and just constantly, that'll help keep the metagame fresh. And that's just great because the card pool is already really big. Don't get me wrong. I want new content. I want expansions. I want new cards. And I'm really hopeful we can get that, because it's also important for my livelihood as well. And, to enjoy the game. So, yeah, but at least just keep the game fresh, and we'll see where they go with this, because this gives them room to really like justify anything. Just keep that in mind, right? Like not promising a specific size and saying that expansions can come in all different shapes and sizes, relieves them of a lot of pressure. But also, like, I wonder why they're making this statement at all. Is this? Because I do feel like the game, like they are taking a direction where PvE is going to become the priority eventually. That's what they want. I think that's what they want, because balancing and maintaining a multiplayer card game alive, it's not an easy thing to do. Let me tell you that. And PvE is much easier because you allow all sorts of broken shit there. Because you're playing against an AI, so there's AIs are not gonna go to Reddit and complain about you just OTKing them with this ridiculous combo, right? So, yeah, I understand the appeal, and also I was shocked to hear that. I was really shocked to hear that like the majority of the player base plays Path of Champions above everything else. Like I didn't know the disparity was that high, and yeah, that I'm not sure what that leads to for the future of player versus player, because we're all here, at least the vast majority of you, I assume, are here because of decks and player versus player, right? That's what we like to play. I like to play people. I'm a PvP player because I enjoy playing players who pose me a challenge, you know? Even though PvE can also be challenging, it's just not the same. I like constructing, I like adapting to what other human beings are doing in a metagame, adjusting to that, exploring different options, and you can't really do that with PvE, right? So, part of me is a little bit concerned about that. And regarding the Runeterra champions, you know, that's just super interesting. It's super interesting. It's just really hard to really analyze because, you know, a deck with Jhin in which you can only add units with skill. Again, it doesn't seem to include champions because Yasuo has no skill in his keyword or anything. So I guess ultimately Jhin can mix with literally any champion in the game, which is kind of wild. But also, like, does this count spells? Can Jhin include all sorts of different spells? Because that seems broken as hell. Or does it have to be spells that generate skills? Or are those even a thing? I don't even know. Like, I have so many questions in that regard, especially specifically about Jhin. And we'll see where they go with this. But this is like changing one of the core mechanics of the game. You know, like it's a really big deal. And it's gonna have massive, wait for it, implications, you know, like massive, absolutely massive. And I'm on the fence, you know, I'm intrigued. Above anything, I'm intrigued. And I'll wait to see how it all pans out. And I'm excited though for the 4-mana 4/4 Jhin incoming. And it's a little bit sad though because I would have liked for him to be Ionia. I think it would have been a nice addition to Ionia. But hey, we'll see where that goes. But that's like really, I can't really say more about that because I need more information, right? I need more information than this. So, yeah, that's just wild, though. Like, again, I'm really intrigued about the spell aspect of that. Is it just purely creatures with skill? Like, how can you even build a deck? Like, I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, we're excited for our existing roster. We're taking a look at some champions who could use some attention to make their game plan smoother. Yeah, so essentially they're going to buff some old champions. I love to hear that, the event and cosmetic events and all that. And that's essentially all there is to that. So we're over 30 minutes, but I think there was a lot to talk about here. Ultimately, here we see the March, the major balance update of March 30th. In May, we get the big expansion. Then in June, major balance changes and skins and cosmetics. Oh, in April we have the champion adjustment. Oh, so in April we have. Okay, so we have every month we have like balance changes. So May is a big expansion, and then seasonal tournament expansion event pass, and a new expansion in July. So May and July we get 2 expansions. But from what it looks like, the May one will be bigger than the July one. But maybe I'm wrong about that. So expansions in May and July. That sounds good with constant balance changes on a monthly basis. Like I'm positive about this, but I can understand if this plan brings out a lot of concerns from within the community. Really intrigued to see what other people say. So and think about this, as it's a lot to absorb. And I'm gonna stop rambling because this video is gonna be longer than it needs to be. But don't be like, I'd love for this discussion to continue though in the comment section down below, and we continue talking about this throughout the next videos. Like today and tomorrow's video are already pre-recorded, so it's before this. It's Mogwai from the past. But I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes on, and if I need to maybe I'll organize a progress day. I think I have to. I think I have to organize a progress day episode. You know, with some of the big content creators here, because there's just a lot to talk about, man. There's just so much to talk about that it needs to happen. So I'll work on that. So yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Legends of Runeterra content. There's gonna be another upload today as well, probably really alongside. I think I'll postpone the gameplay video. It'll be later. Like this one will go up a bit earlier, and I'll postpone the gameplay video maybe like an hour or so. But there's gonna be 2 uploads today, so just keep that in mind. And yeah, love you. Have a whole day. I'll see you in the next video and tomorrow.